Hello everyone and welcome to the Fame, Fortune, and Final Report Forums webinar. I am Jocelyn Moya, Programs Assistant in the Lodge Grants Office, and let's get started. If you can't hear me, please let me know. Okay, so here's some troubleshooting. If you can't hear me, turn up the volume. To ask a question, type it into the chat box on the right. If you get disconnected, click on the email link again and re-enter the meeting. If you're having any issues, please call us at 773-755-4730. Additionally, a recording of this webinar will be posted online at SIP Central one day after it takes place. And I can show you SIP Central later in case you're not familiar with that. So if you have any questions, just call the office. So just sit back and listen. I'll click through all these slides of the presentation and go over them, add some tips more than what's on the PowerPoint, because that would be boring. And today's webinar will last approximately 30 minutes, and I will answer all questions at the end. Okay, so for the 2015-16 grant year, the Community Investments Program is a relatively new program as far as Elks and ENF history goes. Changes will be made as needed to ensure it is meeting the goal of its increasing Elks charitable activities. For example, this year the ENF will invest $9.77 million in communities through ENF Lodge grants. That's a lot of money. We don't invest that amount of money to fund projects that Lodge have been holding for 20 or 30 years. The SIP is intended to usher in a new era of increased charitable outreach. It is not intended to fund projects that Lodges were holding for years before the SIP existed. Please keep that in mind when applying for grants and when filling out final report forms. Just some quick heads ups in case you're not aware. Promise grants are now worth $2,500. Every lodge in which more than 15% of its members donated to the ENF in 2014-15 will be eligible for a bonus of $500 when it applies for a 2015-16 gratitude grant. This means your lodge could receive a $2,500 gratitude grant. And here on the side we have this cute picture of this little boy reading a cards book. Also, happy birthday, SIP! The SIP is turning 10. It launched in 2005, so we're celebrating our 10th birthday this year. We've grown from a 3,000, I always stumble on these large numbers, $350,000 program to the Foundation's largest program. That's a really big increase, nearly 2,700%. So to commemorate this, we'll be celebrating all year with stories, reflections, features, and giveaways. To follow the action, search for the hashtag SIPTurns10 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also visit the SIP's birthday webpage at the address listed below, and I can show that to you in a little bit as well. A quick note for those of you unfamiliar with how to use hashtags: if you wish to post something that is relevant to the SIP's 10th birthday, include the hashtag so that anyone searching for posts about this birthday can see it. And on the other hand, if you want to see all the 10th birthday posts, type hashtag SIPTurns10 into the search bar on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. For example, if you do that right now, you'll see the lovely picture I just posted right before the webinar began on Twitter. In a quick overview of the Community Investments Program, as you know, there are 4 grants: the Impact Grant, the Gratitude Grant, the Beacon Grant, and the Promise Grant. We also are helping out with the Freedom Grants this year and doing some of that paperwork for that. So that's still through the Elks National Veteran Service Commission, but we will be helping out a little bit. So what's the point of Lodge grants? We want to help build stronger communities by helping those in need, to raise the Lodge's profile, energize membership, encourage former members to return, and gain the notice of people who want to be a part of an organization that's doing really great things. So the primary focus of these grants is to serve a population in need. All of the grants that are approved have a strong charitable focus. The secondary focus of grants is publicity. When filling out the final report form, be sure to address these 2 things. Tell us what the Lodge accomplished. How did you help local community members in need? What feedback did you receive from people you served? Then tell us how the lodge reacted. Final report forms. Who needs them? We do, and here's why. As a 501(c), we were required to show that our funds are spent charitably. We must have documentation of how these funds are spent. We want to know how the project went. We want to know what worked for your lodge and what didn't, and we want to share these ideas with your fellow lodges. These final report forms help the Community Investments Program grow, get better, and demonstrate program results. Fame! We use these forms to write stories and spread the word about charitable works of Elks and the ENF. I'll show you some of the pages later of how we share those stories and what that publicity looks like. Okay, so here are our dates and deadlines. Final report forms arrive as a hard copy to your lodge along with the grant check and approval letter. All grant funds must be used by July 31st, so that date is already passed. Lodges have from the time they receive the grant check and report until August 31st to turn in the final report form. That's coming up soon. In the 2014-15 year, that paper that arrived should have been on blue paper. So here are some general FAQs. The boxes provided on the form are too small. Do I have to use them? You don't have to use those. You can feel free to attach additional documents to the final report form as needed. My grant included multiple projects. Should I write multiple final report forms? No, you can feel free to just add that all on one form. If any additional documents are needed, feel free to add those on. Can I email or fax my report in? Unfortunately, no, you cannot. Due to the volume of reports we receive, we require that final report forms be mailed. The only thing we accept via email is digital pictures. We love receiving pictures via email. Where do you get a final report form? Are they posted online? Yes, you can find the final report form. It's included with a grant check and approval letter in the mail, but we also have them posted online. Most of the year it will be available at the bottom of the page, but they are also available. So you go to the ENF webpage, and then you go to ENF programs. You were looking for the Gratitude Grant final report form. It's right here at the top. You can just click on that. So you can type in here, click, and save to that afterwards. It's also available throughout the year at the bottom. Report forms, they're there. With the basics. Contact information, we want the name, address, phone number, and email of your primary contact, whoever was most involved with the project and who can verify the details on this form. We ask for the contact information, so if we have any questions, we know who to call. Make sure this is accurate. If we have any questions about your report, we need to know who to contact. Please keep in mind that email is our primary way to contact someone, so make sure those are really accurate as well. Grant logistics. So we want the date of grant use, number of elk hours spent, number of youth attending, number of people attending, and total dollars spent. We know you may not have exact numbers, but these statistics help us gain an idea of your lodge community and the scope of the event. If your lodge grant activity occurred on multiple dates, be sure to include all of them. Total dollars spent, make sure that this is the number reflects the total grant activity of the budget. If you notice that this number is less than the total amount granted to the lodge, don't panic. Simply give us a call and we'll work with your lodge to ensure the full amount is accounted for. Expenses. This is pretty straightforward. We just want you to list descriptions and amounts of reasonable related expenses for the grant activity. What did the lodge spend the funds on? Make sure these relate to the approved application. Check that expense totals, total amount given to the lodge. Attach documentation of how funds were spent. This means receipts, invoices, copies of checks where eligible, such as if there were donations on the gratitude grant, lodge records, etc. If you will be returning any funds, please send a check with the final report form and note that it's a grant refund in the memo. If not, this might get lost in the donations. Project description. Please describe your lodge's grant activity. We rely on this question as a narrative for your lodge's grant activity. Make sure the final report form clearly matches your lodge's original application. Give a good overview of this project. Be as clear as possible. Include basic details: who, what, where, when, and why. Reference the approved application. Even if the grant activity is something the lodge has been putting on for years, write this section as if you were speaking to someone who is completely unfamiliar with the project. Planning and activities. Please explain how Elks were involved. The second question is most important for Beacon grants and Promise grants. These two grants cannot be used for donations and must have Elk involvement. Make sure your final report form clearly states how lodge members were involved. Lodges that don't include information about involvement will receive follow-up email from the ENF, and we will not be able to consider your final report form complete until we get more information. This is also a really great opportunity to include quotes from members and details about how the lodge recruited volunteers. Quotes like this are often featured on our website and publications. Evaluation. Brag about your lodge's project. This section is a chance for your lodge to illustrate the good work you do in the community and how the grant specifically helped those in need. Provide as much detail as possible. Statistics, stories, thank you notes, and quotes go a long way to show this impact. Ask for feedback from the people you are serving and from your volunteers. Promise Grant should talk about how the event served local youth in need. Beacon Grant Form should talk about how the project addressed local needs with the help of lodge members. Gratitude grants simply need to address the project's accomplishments, though if there was any involvement, that is really great to hear about. Feedback. How did the lodge react to the project? Did the lodge gain any new members because of the project? This is, again, pretty straightforward. This is where raising the lodge's profile comes in. Did the lodge receive any publicity? How did the community react to the activity? Show instead of tell. If the lodge was in the local paper, consider including a copy of that article with the final report form, or send us a link. As you can see on the side here, we do post Elks in the news on our website. And then this is an example of one that was posted. I can show you. So on our website here, if we go back to just the Elks National Foundation, you can see on the side there's Greencastle, Indiana, Indio, California, Eustis, Florida. If you click on there, you can see our publicity notes, anything that shows us how the community responded to the projects. Attachments continued. Photos really help us to publicize grant projects. Take photos whenever possible. Action shots are best. Close-up photos tell a better story. Digital photos are preferred, but we appreciate anything you can. Testimonials, our social media, ENF blog, and Elks in Action. And I'll show you all those in just a moment. And here's just some overview of any social media it has, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, bulletin boards, or an email. Be sure to tell the Elks Scholars about events you've hosted. Getting Elks Scholars involved is great, and hearing about projects that really make them want to be involved. Your digital photos. We'll say this over and over again because we really love those photos. Get feedback. Ask volunteers and lodge members how they think it went. Talk to people being served. Follow up with your partners. Write down good quotes. Keep anything that really tells us about the project. After the event is over, use our news release generator to. That's how some of those Elks and the news stories get put up. It's really great. And here are some of our stories that have been featured on feedback and quotes from the project manager. Had really fantastic photos of the grant project. They were action shots, and they gave a detailed summary of the activities. And there was information about Elk involvement with this project. And this is another Elks in Action piece. This is a kind of smorgasbord of a couple of different projects. They all had digital pictures, details about member involvement, and feedback from the lodge members. Don't know if you're starting to see a pattern here or not. And here's something from our ENF blog, written by yours truly. And this is, again, kind of a couple of different lodges coming together and doing similar projects. So this is a great description of how the lodge helped the community. Lots of action shots. I love these photos. And relatable projects that can be easily modified to fit any community. So these are all garden projects, but each of these lodges kind of took them and put their own community spin on it. Blairsville community didn't have a grocery store, and so they realized that this was a really great community need to be met. All right, those are SIP tips for the road, but we'll get right back to those after I show you some of our stuff. So if you go to the Elks National Foundation, www.elks.org/ENF, and then you click right under here, Stay Connected, this kind of Wi-Fi looking thing, that will take you to our blog. And you'll see one was operate. Click on that. This is where we post a lot of recap. Colleen and Instagram. We post a lot of photos here. Club photos from celebrating our birthday party. Picture from our here. Twitter account. Our website. Sorry, this is a lot of information at once. I should have spaced this out a little bit better. If you click on this picture right up here, this is our, as well as right before and on the deadline. The quantity we receive during this time means that some good projects could be overlooked for highlights. If you're proud of your project, get the report in early so we can feature it. It also saves your lodge from receiving multiple annoying email reminders from us. Be sure your final report form clearly details your project. We use final report forms when reviewing grant applications, so be sure the information on the form accurately reflects the project. This can prevent questions in the future and help applications be approved quicker. No folders or binders, please. Look out for a final report form confirmation email. When the final report form is approved and closed, we will send a confirmation email to the primary contact listed on the grant application. If there's an issue with the final report form, we will contact the project manager on the report form for more information or documentation. Information on other charitable projects is nice, but not necessary to include. Periodically, lodges will include information about other charitable projects they are involved with. We love to see examples of how Elks impact their community, but the final report form is not the best place for this. In fact, this can get a bit confusing and hold up your lodge's final report form. Instead, consider emailing us these examples. Lastly, you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. We understand that unexpected things happen, cancellations, low turnout, failed partnerships, rescheduling due to weather, etc. Please call us if something changes or if the lodge has grant funds remaining. We are happy to work with lodges to find solutions. So that's it. Let's see if there are any questions. Oops. Okay. I don't see any questions that should be answered over this webinar, so I will respond to those other ones elsewhere. But if you have any further questions, feel free to email lodgegrants@elks.org or give us a call at 773-755-4730. Thanks for attending.